Bing. Here we are. It is the BetaSaaSers AutoGraders Friday meeting, and we have Rose and Sam, and also Sage observing. Welcome, Sage. Woo, Sage from Wikimedia. And so, not sure if other people are joining. I mean, I've got a few just sort of information update things, I guess, very minor ones. But should we just, Rose? Do you want to just talk us through the issues that you're facing in running the class at the moment?
Yeah. I think I sent you a little note last week, and it turned out to be a really good kind of learning moment. But when we started homework 4, we discovered that there was an orphan migration. So we got to talk about that and got to talk about how you would fix something like that. And we got to use the Rails DB console. So, you know, another good thing. And we fixed that. And then we noticed that there were a couple of other things that were kind of goofy with the download. You know, when we cloned the homework, that download was a little odd. The model movie.rb was still pointing to, or not pointing to, it still was using attribute accessible. And of course it had, if you looked at the gem file, it included that particular gem file that it was supposed to. But my question was, you know, why is it doing that when homework 3 didn't have that? Homework 3 had strong parameters. So I, you know, we had a little discussion about where that came from and what it meant, and that no, it was not attribute accessors, it was attribute accessible, which meant something totally different. And that this sort of thing would not be permitted after Rails 5. So, you know, that let's take it out. Let's use this opportunity to get rid of it, put in strong parameters, and we went from there. So we fixed the database, we tidied up and modernized, so to speak, the model and the controller, and then there was no hitch.
All right.
So, but I thought you might want to be aware of it in case you know, somebody had questions, or I mean, it was odd. It's odd that homework 3 is updated and homework 5 is updated.
Okay.
But not homework 4. So that is just a little strange. And I did, when I finally went through my notes really thoroughly, what I found out, I had thought that we had this problem and it was fixed. But then in my notes, what I discovered is we discovered in homework 5 and fixed it.
Right.
So, yeah, and so 4 apparently got left by the wayside. But like I said, you know, it turned out fine, and it wasn't a problem. You know, now I did notice a couple other things, but this doesn't have to do with the homework. This has to do with chapter 8.
Okay.
For instance, we've got a screencast that has the wrong URL. In both the book and the Kindle version.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, you know, I don't know. I keep on forgetting where you go for what to fix, you know, like if you find a mistake in the homework versus you find a mistake in the book, or
yeah. So just to go back and to recap then, the issue is that I mean, this is homework 2, and in homework 2, I mean, I guess
2 or 3. Yeah, we're calling it 3 now.
I mean, well, in the sequence, there's the Rails intro one, where the solution exists in this repo, and oh, okay, no, but actually, no, it doesn't, because in this one, the solution there, I mean, the solution to this one sort of exists in this one, and it's here where you're seeing older code.
Older code.
And it sounds like actually what was confusing is perhaps that we had addressed that previously in this repo, but not in this repo.
Not in the other one.
Yeah, I mean, what I've done is I've opened the issue here, and yeah, I mean, this basically, whenever you have any problem with any of the homework repos, it's always a great idea to open the issue on the repo, because when I next come round to my review of this, I will be, you know, reviewing the issues here. So that's just where but you know, the short-term solution of just telling me about it in Slack or these meetings, and I'll put it in there. So don't worry too much about where you put it. I'll always make sure it gets in here. Go on.
No, I don't see. Oh, it does say the orphan migration. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I posted on Slack what I gave my students, the instructions I gave them.
Right.
You know, on how to fix the how to go into Rails DB console, how to fix, you know, how to see what's there, how to fix it, and then how to check that now it's good. Okay.
Well, what I'll do there is I will take a copy of that and slap that in here. Rows fix instruction to students.
Yeah, it's on Slack.
Yeah, I've taken a screenshot of it. It's difficult to copy it over, so I've taken a screenshot of the Slack. So now,
because it's over a few messages.
Yeah. So I've now got that's all in there.
Okay, great.
Yes, right. So there's that. So that's kind of in hand for when we, you know, that's very well done for highlighting that. So then the other issue we're talking about was an issue with the book, and then
there's a few little issues in chapter 8. Actually, it starts out with, this is kind of odd, and I noticed that this is from beta 2 version, that this has been the case. If you look at the footnotes in the book, it refers to a link, and that footnote is never referenced, and that link doesn't seem to go with anything. So it just, I think it needs to be deleted.
So it is complicated with the book because there's an errata system that people have access to, but I think you have access to this, like, because you have the special Beta Gold Star thing. In principle, you can prioritize any fix by going to this repo. Just check for me that you can Strawberry Canyon SaaS book, which is a private repo, and you can open the issue directly there, and that is its like super highway to getting a problem with the book fixed.
Right. Yeah, because there's that, and then there's some places where they refer to, you know, like steps 2 to 4, and it's steps 1 to 3, and you know, mostly little things.
Sure.
You know, but the thing I thought was, on the one hand, more serious, but on the other hand, easy to figure out, was that there's the link to the screencast is wrong. But I mean, if you want to see that screencast, you can find it.
Yeah. I mean, what I'd say is for the you know, if you've got the details of those issues written down in any format, you know, get them to me, and I'll make sure that they end up in this issue in the source book, and you know, we can and Armando's talking about a version, a second edition of the textbook, and currently thinking about whether that would also be self-published like the first one, or whether we would switch to a mainstream publisher. So that we'd certainly like to get kind of running issues like that fixed for the second edition.
Yeah.
So do you have the list of issues? Do you have that in some easily transferable form, or is it still just sort of you've got it?
I just have the chapter marked up. As I read it, I marked it up.
Okay.
But I have. I'm putting in Slack. The screencast URL, the one that it should be.
Sure. Okay. So chapter 8 issues. What I'll do there is I'll put chapter 8 issues from rows, and the issues were you know, an incorrect screen class link.
Yeah.
What were the other highlights?
A footnote. The first footnote for the chapter isn't referenced anywhere. It's never used. And it hasn't been used since beta 2, where it was first appeared.
Right. That's in
chapter 8, and then there's let me see, because like I said, I just marked the book up.
Sure.
The next part is there's in section 8.2, right before or right around figure 8.2, it talks about this it requires Okay, no, never mind. That's the wrong one. That one's fine. Although there's a reference that says line 1 loads some helper methods that will be used by all RSpec tests. And above, they describe spec helper as being a file that sets up some helper methods that will be used in all tests, and the Rails helper as being Rails specific. And it's just odd that then below they describe one as they had previously described the other.
Right.
So that's sort of confusing.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. It sounds like, why don't you? I mean, I've got some of those down, and so we've triaged that. Richard's just joined us. Why don't you? Take another pass through that when you have a chance, and through whatever mechanism, whether you email me, whether it's Slack or what have you. This is where I've started.
Yeah, I can go back and get the Kindle. You know, the locations.
Yeah, sure.
You know. I mean, what I typically do is first just go through the book and mark it up, and then if I find something, I go to my Kindle and get the location. But what I find is the Kindle pages are so small.
No, I know. Just the nature of the text is more useful for me. Can you just click can you see the link that I just shared in Slack? Can you just click that and confirm for me whether or not you can see it?
Thanks. This is perfect. Yeah.
You know what we're doing. I'll greet Richard. How are you doing?
Oh, 404. This is not the web page you're looking for.
We can hear you, Richard. Yeah. Okay. So Rose, it seems like you don't have access to that. I'll look at that separately. Anyway, just send me whatever you have through whatever medium, and I'll make sure that we can hear you, Richard. How are things going with you, Richard?
Yeah, his things are a little bit more complicated to end a class and jump into this than I was hoping, but otherwise things are good. We're just doing our chapter 4 walkthrough today, and things are good. Luckily, there's not too much changing. So
all right. Good stuff. Good
Oh,
stuff.
there you are. Look at you in the upper. Oh, there's you with the beard. I'm just seeing you now.
Beard. I've got my. We're doing things. I've got this new thing set up. I forget what it's called. That is software that allows me to show you me doing like movements like this while. Anyway, it's all exciting, fun stuff. We just so Rose. We've been through. I think Rose, have we covered all the key issues? For you now?
No, we're good.
Yeah,
we're fine.
Great stuff. And so, but it sounds like from Richard, there are no blocks or challenges for you at the moment?
We don't have anything. No. I mean, I'm always wondering. We have a little sheet. Take care. Sorry. We have a little sheet of chapter 4 walkthrough changes from the text, and it always confuses me about why we have that, because I thought the text was updated. But,
well, I mean, the text is continually going out of date. Like whenever we update the text, there's
So.
As I was just saying before to Rose, Armando's talking about the second edition of the book.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that from last week.
And yes, so that's the kind of thing that it will be good to get fixed for the second edition.
And you are I mean, when you're doing that, are you talking with him as being like sort of working closely?
Yeah, well, we're talking about potentially me becoming a co-author of that.
So I'm just wondering. I mean, I think it's not going to happen because it's too much work. But somehow, really, like trying to refactor the thing. So that it as a primary goal. I mean, it's very obvious, but sometimes the obvious stuff gets missed when you're.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have. I mean, I've got my own opinions, which I think sympathetic with yours about the direction that I would like to take it in. I mean, it's obviously still Armando's baby.
Yeah.
I'll be fighting for trying to represent the BetaSaaSers posse.
I think that we can trust Sam to advocate for us. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the question is whoever is the typesetter really has the final. Right? Isn't that the person for our Declaration of Independence? I thought there was rumors that the typesetter made some final changes, or
maybe so.
There could be.
Indeed. Well, no, I think it'd be interesting. I'm hoping that I can have some productive discussions with Armando. I know he has strong feelings about this direction. I mean, the funny shame that Armando's not here, and I haven't heard so much from him during the course of the last week. My kind of update is to say, yeah, the MOOC is still in this kind of, what's the word, interstitial zone where I told you all about this before, that the moving from being an X series to a professional certificates thing on edX, and my fear that would kind of stall indefinitely, and I hope that my fears are not being proved correct, but things seem to be stalled at the moment, or at least, well, I mean, we'll see. I should be optimistic. I'm optimistic, and not attached to outcomes. This is clearly the Zen way of existing in the universe. Don't be attached to outcomes. Everything is as it is.
It is. Yeah.
And there's kind of, it's got an eternal perfect symmetry to it.
That philosophy has really helped, because when I think of the last few years and all the crazy things that have happened, and people have actually said to me, we expected you to hit the roof, and I'm like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, we're 6 weeks into the course, right? At week 4, I was informed that I was getting 8 new students at week 4.
Right.
Okay. And and the second week of the semester, the TA they gave me, they took away. So, I mean, I guess it's a good thing I like what I do.
Yeah, it would be difficult if you didn't. Yes. Yes.
So,
adversity builds character, as they say.
Yeah, but as bad as that sounds, getting 8 new students at week 4, it turned out that by working with them closely, I saw more clearly the stopping points that students were having. So I think in the long run it may be helpful. But we're talking hours and hours and hours every day. So
yeah, interesting times. Go on, Richard.
From doing the chapter walkthrough today, TA Matt, who unfortunately tells me he's going to be graduating. I don't know why he wants to do something as silly as that. So
right.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Right. Drat these people.
There was a question that we encountered that he'll articulate now, and maybe he'll have an answer, maybe it'll be a shrug.
Okay. Go on.
So we had them doing the chapter 4 walkthrough today.
Right.
And in 4.1, they changed the routes file. And it links to the the GitHub link with the file you have to change. But I think it's just a version issue. But some people, the link that I guess Armando put sometimes doesn't work. You sometimes have to change it to something else to work with a newer version. So I don't know if that was worth updating or looking at. But some people
in their workspace that they created on Cloud9.
From the comments, it looked like it was just different Rails versions. Like it worked for most of our kids, but some people it didn't work, and they had to do the updated version.
Right. But the walkthrough,
right, yeah, that one right there.
Are they going through the walkthrough like as in the textbook, right? They're using the textbook, and then I think as Richard was mentioning, they've got like a separate set of sheet of like here are other things that you have to be concerned about.
Right. We do have that, but not to this point. There's nothing extra we have them do before that.
Right. And you were saying that the particular where they were encountered the issue was in terms of doing things with the gem file. Can you?
The routes file.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the routes file.
That's
sorry,
odd.
you did say.
That one right there.
Oh, this one here.
Yep, the link right there.
This one. Oh, okay. Right. And so they were
some
like
people in the
clicking.
comments posted the updated version of what usually makes it work, but
okay.
What does it look like?
So we've got, I guess here, right, we've got we can see there in the thing we've actually got, I don't know if this is one of your students, but somebody commenting 2 days ago that, there's a variation on that. Is this what you were seeing was needed as a fix there?
Right, for the people that ran that issue, changing it to that would fix it.
And I guess he was just wondering, why some people and not others, or is it associated with the Rails version?
Oh, I see. Like, so this worked for some people and not for others.
Right. I just didn't know if it was worth looking at or not.
Well, I think,
are they all looking at the same version of the gem file? I've had a problem with students not having consistent versions of the book, and some of them are looking at one thing, some of them are looking at another, and some of them who had bought the book like in the electronic form earlier didn't update it, and so they were looking at like old links and old gem files.
I did specifically tell people, you know, that the version was important and all that stuff. And I sent a post, but I was shocked when I came in this morning to this that not everyone had carefully read and thought about what I had told them.
No. Students not paying
No,
good attention to
Richard.
what the instructor had sent in text form.
So that's an interesting thing, is that people are working from different versions of the text.
Yeah, I mean, I think here, I mean, the action that seems to be clear is that we should update this. Like, there's no reason why that needs to have malwares. What I would also imagine that might cause this to work in some cases, not others, is different capitalization in what the app's being called.
Okay.
Right.
What I'm going to do.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying that, and the reason that when they update it, it might have been just like coincidental.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, I find that people will draw conclusions because of correlations, but but it really has nothing to do with it. Just yeah, you happen to correct the misspelling.
Indeed. I mean, I think
as an example, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know it might be. I mean, this is in some ways is, as we talk about, you know, all of these things are opportunities. In actually the key skill that I think we'd like all the students to internalize is this process of not jumping to conclusions and being able to assess, you know, which of the different variables are actually likely to be causing the outcome that we see.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had exactly this conversation with a student who was very sheepish because she said, "Oh, did you copy and paste? I copied and paste," and then it turned out there was a capitalization issue of the first character. They used class instead capital C instead of small.
Right.
And she said, "Oh yeah, well when I copied and pasted, yeah, I missed that first character, so that's the one I typed in." I was like, "Well, there's a lesson to be learned." You know, it's like, okay, if you did, like, that's exactly where you should have been looking, right?
Well, we would argue from like other boot companies is that you should be typing it in. I mean, almost there's an argument that says you should avoid copying and pasting, and you should explicitly type out that. I mean, of course, the whole textbook, by providing these copy and pastable gists, kind of goes in a completely different direction from that. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said from. I mean, in some ways, if we could kind of, I mean, one of the things that Amanda was talking about is like having a whole chapter on the problem solving thing, is that actually, you know, we would like to say is like, all of this will not work. If it ever works, that's a miraculous wonder, but you should never expect it to happen. You should expect, as a result of you typing these things out, that it will fail. But that is the process of learning and the process of discovery. It's by typing it out and you seeing that what you will allow you to encounter errors that will teach you more about the system. Don't be attached to the outcome. Right, it's all about the journey, not the destination. But of course,
part of the problem is we're here. We have 55 students and a few TAs, and people are coming in and like sort of with random problems and random issues, and we want to like just come in and be like, you know, the SWAT team. We jump into a desk like Batman, jump in and boom, 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 click or say a couple of pithy things, and then problem solve, and we swoop into solve the next one. And it's hard. That's our.
Is that really what you want? Is you want that seems like that's kind of a glory. I guess
what we want for the students, but as you know, as trying to go around and dealing with all the raised hands, we want to be able to like not have everyone like here frustrated.
Absolutely. But so it seems to me though is that you going in and solving the problems for them and moving on to the next step. I wonder, like, actually, is there any learning going on?
Like stuff. But the problem, you see, part of the problem with the chapter 4 walkthrough is that if they miss a step or if they do something wrong, we don't have, at least, you know, I don't have the Rails knowledge to be able to look and just say, oh, like this is where you have to go back and look, and it can be like a complicated thing. Really, what I think a little bit of a mistake today is I downplayed the pairing up a little bit because I sort of said, you know what, I'm not going to get anal about it. We encourage you to work with someone, and you should talk. And I think that probably would have helped if, you know, the two heads kind of thing would have especially helped in following the instructions and making sure. But whatever.
Can I make a comment?
Go on, Rose.
Okay, so I'm looking. I have the latest version of the book on Kindle, and I am seeing that reference to My Rotten Potatoes application roots draw do, as opposed to
Rails roots draw do, whatever.
Resources movie root to. No, that looks exact. Yeah, okay, so that looks the same, as opposed to Rails.application.roots draw do. Yeah, so that there is a difference.
Well, but I think that there's a difference in what some people will find. I mean, I think that Rails one, that's what someone has suggested in a comment under the gist as an alternative. But
and the question is that true, or?
Well, I think both of them can work, but the Rails one, there's less room for error in the spelling, because with the My Rotten Potatoes one, when people create the app, they may use different consistencies, whereas Rails as a a constant, capital RAILS in the thing, So yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting. What's really interesting here is we could say, right, well, let's switch over to the Rails one, because then this will no longer be a sticking point in principle, because there'll be less room for running into that particular issue, and we might say that actually this issue is not one that we want students to run into. But again, it comes back to go on, Rose.
Okay, so it says here that in Rails 4.1.x, the generated roots.rb in a Rails app use the newer format. That was like, I guess this new form started in 3, and of course we are using Rails 4.
We are, yes. So it's I mean, you can argue from a sort of being up to date thing, that's what it should be. So in that case, yes, we should certainly update it. But I think, and I've kind of, I've opened an issue on the book to suggest that we should do that. Independently of that, I mean, the interesting thing for Richard, to come back to the point about the pairing, is kind of, there's the extent to which the students are, I don't really want to pair, I don't feel like doing it, but they want to be able to put their hand up and get a quick response from the limited resources from so there's kind of it's I mean, again it comes back to about frustration, is that the students are frustrated presumably because they feel like they should be making progress towards some goal, when actually if they felt that being stuck and the process of using the scientific methods to become unstuck, and they were kind of getting credit for that, or feeling
they are making
progress for that, then they wouldn't be frustrated, because they'd be like, wow, I've got this really interesting error. But I mean, of course, there's no way we're going to disavow students of the what is sort of culturally set expectation that you do a series of problems and you make your way through the problems, and if you're stuck, you're a bad person and you're a failure and it's awful and you should feel bad. So.
Right. Yeah, actually, Richard,
look, and things are. I mean, I think things may be working pretty well. It's always the exceptional problematic cases that sort of get the attention and that we discuss. So even though we're I'm saying this and that, it's not saying like the whole thing is one huge failure. We're never going to get 100%. I don't think like this sort of no child left behind and no student left behind. I think there's always going to be people that for whatever reason. Aren't in the thick of things, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, and I mean
they're in the thick of something else,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I guess I think there is, Rails as it moves on. I mean, I think we are, that it is actually, open source projects, they do improve over time, and I think, they're while I do say it's always going to be gradually going out of date. If we're optimistic, then Rails is moving in a direction that perhaps makes some of the more esoteric issues become gradually less and less likely to appear. But of course, we've got to keep up with the latest edition of Rails in order to make sure we get the benefit of that. So
bottom line, though, I think is that more importantly, we teach students that this is the reality and that they need to keep up with the ever-changing ground beneath their feet.
Right.
But Richard, I'm glad you brought this up, because there were a number of things that were due to this different versions of the book. But now that I've investigated this more at this point, I recall that we had this problem like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and indeed it's as you state. All right. They were having some trouble. It wasn't working, but it didn't really make a big impression on me, because a bunch of them immediately went and did a search and found the answer on Stack Overflow, and you know, they mentioned it in class in passing, but they got past it.
Interesting stuff.
And it's just you know, what we have is accumulated wisdom. So these various, even if they're not corrections, you know, potential mistakes that people make, it just helps us like fumble less as we're helping students and give people advice. We have that anyway.
Yeah, so well, I've just got one more item I was going to mention, which is that I signed up for a couple of services recently. One is called Code Mentor, another is called Hack Hands. And this is partly because some people were suggesting that we should be providing private mentoring services through Agile Ventures, and some people were saying, oh yeah, we'd sign up for that. And I thought I'd take a look at what some of the potential competition we're doing. I don't know if you're familiar with either of those services, but basically they allow you to get sort of technical programming support online, like either paying by the minute or by the hour. So that's interesting to see that their system and how they work. I had to do like a tech test to get accepted into the Code Mentor mentors group, which was interesting. But what was particularly interesting was seeing some of the requests come up, and it looked very much like some students doing a Python course were posting into the system to say, I will pay you like $100 an hour to solve my Python assignment for my course. Like the thing that one had posted, it sort of, you know, it's basically the description of the programming assignment. You know, with you'll need to connect to the university's servers to, you know, have this system work, and it's kind of like saying,
oh, that's hilarious.
And it's like, you know, please, I need you to write this Python script that will do this bot thing and interact with the server for me, and it needs to be done by the deadline of, you know, 8:30 p.m. tomorrow. You know, I'll pay you $120 or whatever for this. So it's kind of it was interesting seeing that, in that, you know, I guess I kind of like to think that I don't like exams, and I prefer to give students project work. And, you know, I know I've encountered in university in the past, you know, students copying stuff online, and then I see that's kind of, and I search for the code. But if you pay somebody for like $50 or $100 an hour to write fresh code for you, it's very difficult to detect that behavior.
Well, you know, the thing is, if the person can get a $200 an hour job,
right,
like go through the rest of his life being successful.
Yeah, and paying. You know, yeah, absolutely. They're working as a sort of intermediate. They're providing a valuable brokering service.
It's a win-win situation, because the company's getting $200 worth, and this is what, you know, free markets and capitalism is all about. Anyway,
and then we get a president.
We're making America great again. That's what we're doing. I think we should make the whole world great again, because it clearly, you know, was greater in the past. And sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, well, I should probably slip off into another meeting quickly and then go and have supper. It sounds like we've addressed the critical issues of the day. It's been great to catch up with both of you. Feel free to carry on hanging out and chatting around. Anything else that must be said before I depart?
No, I mean, I'm good. I apologize. I used to look forward to these things, to these meetings, and now it's like I just scramble.
And now you've got sick of us. No, you mean now you're just, you're in an unpleasant rush.
And now, my life is a little less complete, but I'm
yeah. Well, I mean, I think we should probably sensibly, start them slightly later. Anyway, but yeah, we can consider, during the course of the week.
See, I don't want to make any. I mean, who knows what next fall will bring? I'm actually scheduled to teach 3 sections.
Wow.
So which is different, but that's Tuesday, Thursday. So the Friday, if things are the same, the Friday is going to be a good time. So who knows? Play it by ear. Right now, I'm doing okay.
All right, great stuff. Same time next week, more or less. Then, and don't hesitate to reach out to me during the week if there's any problems. And see you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Great. Thanks, all.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.